are well clear. Can Tesh Marquez White pull this back? Trinidad and Tobago in third. It's Bahamas ahead of Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago. Barbados in fourth. Tesh Marquez White is closing, but the 400 champion has it won. The Bahamians win the 4x4 and close Carifta in the most sensational fashion. The President Dico Archer promised it, and they have delivered emphatically.
Zoning in on the Bahamas now as we continue our discussion on the 52nd Carifta Games. And it was extremely fruitful for the Bahamas as they stormed to 37 medals. That's including 16 gold, 13 silver and 8 bronze, leaving them second in the medal tally behind Jamaica, who were second. And of course, they had the most gold medals in their rich Carifta Games history. The 37 medals won was good for second place overall, but strides were made as they significantly reduced the gold medal gap between them and first place Jamaica from 36 to 14. Now, a sign of the progress in the nation's track and field program. Joining us this afternoon via Zoom to tell us more about that progress is President of the Bahamas Association of Athletics, Dico Archer. Good afternoon. How are you doing? I mean, it must be good, eh?
It feels great in the Bahamas. Good afternoon to everyone, and good afternoon to the region.
Yeah, and Dico, since you got the opportunity, to reflect, because, I mean, the Carifta Games ended about a week ago. How do you feel looking at the overall country's success?
You correctly put it. I think that we are closing the gap. It's a testament to the strength of our program. It's always very difficult to even rival with a country like Jamaica, remembering that the Bahamas is only 400,000, a population of 400,000 as compared to Jamaica's, I suppose, 2.5 million. And so the task of trying to even be competitive is always a really great task for our program. But I'm happy. I'm very, very happy with the overall results. The athletes performed at the highest level. We prepared well for it. I expected great results, but I just never expected us to amass 16 medals, 16 gold medals.
Yeah, and Mr. President, you spoke...
Very pleasing for the...
Yeah, we're having a bit of delay there, viewers, just in case you're wondering. Well, Mr. President, sure. You spoke about the preparation, just briefly touching on that. But I think, what is clear is preparation in the Bahamas began, way ahead in time. And of course, a lot of thought and effort was put into this program. Can you talk to me a bit about that?
I would say that since the start of my first administrative period, which would be some 6.5 years ago, our focus has been on developing a kids athletics program, which served to be the feeder program for our junior program. I think that we're now seeing the fruit of that program. It is a very robust program that attracts hundreds of kids, as I would say per capita, perhaps the largest in the area. It is the program that I believe in, and it really is the program of discovery. So you have a larger pool to choose from. And what we saw over the past 6.5 years is kids coming through that program and emerging to the level that we expect for them to compete at these Carifta Games and beyond. So every year we've seen continued progression. I'm looking forward to next year. I think that there are some things that we're going to continue to do differently with the hopes of trying to narrow the gap even further with Jamaica in the gold medal count.
Yeah, I love how you say, you're already planning ahead, thinking about putting things in place, areas you can improve, areas you can continue to develop on moving forward. Talk to me about these young athletes now, Mr. President, because, I mean, it's one thing to, of course, have a structure in place, but the talent in the Bahamas, very impressive.
Well, I think that the entire region is the talented region. And if you putting the Bahamas aside, you would find that countries like Barbados and Guyana and Trinidad, they all showed up in fine form. So I think that the region is really closing its gap and taking on a similar approach. For us, I tell the athletes, listen, guys, you are a small nation, but you are just as good as anybody else. And so I think that the mental preparation going into these games was also very, very different. We have had sports psychologists meet with our team to talk about mental preparation and really preparing yourself from a dietary standpoint and a mental standpoint, which I believe really showed well for us.
Yeah, one of the things that we always point to, and I pointed it out to your swimming head coach yesterday, Dramico, because we spoke to Travana McPhee yesterday, and
Yep.
the inspiration that athletes get from your stars, your world stars, is in a big way a contributory factor to inspiring these young athletes. Because you think of Pauline Davis-Thompson, Tonique Williams-Darling, and since then we've seen the likes of Shaunae Miller-Weber and Stephen Gardner, all Olympic champions. They are on record as putting Bahamas on the map globally in the sport. And it is very clear that these big performances in the past will serve to inspire the younger generation.
Yeah, I think it's really a very intentional effort on the part of our federation. People look in wonderment about how we do it, but it's a very simple thing. I go to the track almost every day, and I know and I talk with the athletes personally and talk with the coaches on an ongoing basis. So there's always this constant exchange, measuring and assessing and trying to figure out how we can do things better. And the athletes are involved in that process. So it is not on game day that you perform. You perform at practice, and you perform even in the discussions, and there's a preparation that's ongoing. And I believe that, you don't really appreciate the power of messaging until kids actually begin to believe it. And I think that that's really the story for these games. I saw kids believing that they could do it, that they could be the very best, that, there was no fear, they had prepared properly, and they were prepared to compete.
Yeah, the Jamaica head coach last year, David Riley, after Jamaica's success in 2024, did tell the media that he could see in the coming years countries closing the gap on Jamaica, given the talent that he is seeing throughout the entire region and the quality of athletes he was looking at. And he's a very astute individual, David Riley, and it's obvious that he was seeing something that maybe a lot of people didn't see, because the narrowing of the gap for the Bahamas against the Jamaicans this term was really, really significant. And it's the biggest gold medal haul you've had since 1984, which was the last time Jamaica did not top the medal table at the Carifta Games, and the Bahamas actually won, led by Pauline Davis.
Yeah, and quite funnily, when we think about our performance, there were some misfortunes that I thought that we very easily could have gotten gold medals, and so I counted 3 more that we didn't get. But putting that aside, I think that the astuteness of Riley does resonate. There's no question that the region is closing the gap. I was just so impressed by the St. Lucian runner, the under-17 girls who won the 100 meters and 200 meters.
JD
And then I
Emmanuel.
said to myself, wow, this girl, yeah, Emmanuel, yes, correct. And I had a talk with her, and I said, you're something special. And what you try to do, because it's just not just about the Bahamas' success. Wherever I see athletes really doing well, I talk to them, encourage them, give them words of inspiration, because it's just not the Bahamas, it's the region that we want to see do well. And I'm really, really happy about those results. Michelle Smith is another story that should be told. I just think that she's just a fantastic athlete, and she's doing well for her country. And we just need to push the region ahead. And that's what I see coming out of these Carifta games in Trinidad.
Yeah, I think it's very admirable, Jamaica, that you actually had a word with J.D. Manuel and looking at the entire regional picture, because you are right. Because I can tell you that Shawnee Miller-Weibo is one of Jamaican fans' favorite athletes globally. So we have to recognize that as Caribbean people, we have to help each other and admire the work that others are doing, because I think the entire Caribbean region has embraced St. Lucia's, Julian Alfred's success in Paris and at the World Indoors as well. And now a year on, we're looking at this 16-year-old looking absolutely impressive. You know, your heart goes out to her and the work that the St. Lucians have done with her. But from the SportsMax Zone, let me congratulate you, Jamaica, on the good work that you're doing as head of athletics in the Bahamas. We wish you continued success. And we know that everyone admires the value of the Carifta Games. The World Athletics boss himself, Lord Sebastian Coe, never misses the meet and has spoke glowingly about the meet. And you are right. It's a Caribbean region that is bubbling with quality and talent, and we've got to nurture it. And the Bahamas among the teams in the forefront of that charge. So thanks, Ramiko, and we'll talk again soon, I'm sure.
It is my pleasure. And I'll give you more predictions as we come closer to Grenada.
Thank you very much, Dico Archer. Yeah, he did tell the local media in the Bahamas that the Bahamas would win the 4x4 for boys, both under 17 and under 20. And I guess a lot of Jamaicans had scoffed at it at the time, but it happened. They won both and won them very impressively as well.
You're saying that, and what comes to mind is when Ricardo sat here and he did his predictions, and I'm thinking now he might need to consult with Jamaica and they can come up with some more predictions. When Ricardo gets back, I'll be sure to tell him.
Okay, break time. Back with more on the Zone after this.